First, we at WagerTalk would like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend, and we also know that December can be a crazy month. Now we are offering a rest of calendar year special. Get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, college basketball games, and all other sports of your favorite handicapper through December 31st for only $249. The early bird really does catch a worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon needed. Pay only $249 today or pay $249 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2021.
Hey guys, welcome in. Happy Friday to your championship weekend. Kind of hard to believe, but it is here on December the 3rd, and we still have 4 games that we're going to break down for you heading into this weekend, and we're going to do it with the Friday gang here, none other than Adam, Trigger, Rob, Veno, Dave, Cokin in the house with you guys, ready to go here. And the 4 games here, of course, involve some championship games and a classic, in fact, Army-Navy, and a makeup game with USC and Cal. So let's dive into it, Robert. What do we got? Game number 1 up there. Let's get in there, and then we'll get everyone's schedule for this weekend. Shoot, what do you got? Oh, the king of beers. Where else? Georgia taking on Alabama here, -4. Georgia opened up, and we all know that, that didn't last long over there. Total 53 as the opening total as well. And again, 4 o'clock on Saturday, guys. This will be the SEC championship. We don't need to tell you what's at stake here, much as the dominoes will fall on this Friday and Saturday. And Trig, let's take a look at this game here. Alabama taking on Kirby Smart, another assistant. What do you think? Georgia's defense just too much for this Alabama offense?
Well, first, Joe, do you know when the last time Alabama has been an underdog? Do you know off the top of your head? Well, I'll tell you, it was 2015. It was 2015. Mm-hmm. They were a 1-point dog to Georgia, and they won by 4 touchdowns. So Alabama has not been an underdog in 6 years. The last time they were a dog, they beat the bricks off of Georgia. I don't know if that's going to happen here, but what I do know is no one wants to bet on Alabama in this game. And when was the last time you could really say that, right? Looking at probably 80% of the action on both the tickets and money, at least when I looked earlier, was on Georgia. And I mean, that's kind of obvious, I guess, with the move. You're seeing 6.5. I think this is even touching 7 some places. And if this gets to 7, I would say that Alabama is definitely the correct bet in this game. Georgia, obviously dominant. I think if you wanted to like X and O's this one and just look at numbers and stuff, you'd keep coming up with Georgia. But Georgia played a really easy schedule this year. I actually gave out Georgia to win the national championship on the very first episode of The Hustle. I gave it out at 8-1. And I said, you know what? They really have 2 big games all year. It's going to be the first game against Clemson, and then the potential matchup that we're getting this weekend against Alabama in the SEC championship game. You know, they ended up winning that game against Clemson, but in hindsight, that win is not nearly as impressive as it looked when it happened. And I think, and I don't quote me on this, I'd have to go back and double check. But as far as I can remember, I think Georgia's been at least a 2-touchdown favorite in every other game so far this season. So this will clearly be their toughest opponent. Alabama's got some nice momentum, winning the game the way they did last week in overtime, sort of coming back from the dead to win that game. So if you're going to give me a touchdown with Alabama here, as much as I don't want to bet against Georgia, I mean, I think a touchdown head start with Bama is the right side in this game.
Dave, talk to me here. You had said a number of times on this show throughout the year, you don't want to go against Georgia. There's no reason to bet against Georgia in that defense. Do you still feel that way in this game?
Yeah, I'm not betting against Georgia. I'm not going to play on Georgia here either. I mean, Alabama does have some elements that give them a chance in this game. They've got a great pass rush. They lead the SEC in sacks. They lead in tackles for loss. And, I bet it's not going to have all day to throw. And he can make some mistakes. I mean, he's more of a game manager than anything else. But I think for Alabama to win, they've got to come out on fire. And that means Bryce Young getting him down the field into the end zone and then play some good defense and stay in this early, because if they're unable to do that, they might just get boat raced. Look, obviously the game means more in terms of needing to win. It means more to Alabama than Georgia. Georgia's in the playoff. It doesn't matter. They could lose this game by 100 and they'd still be in the playoff. Alabama, I think they've got to win the game to make the playoffs. They could still get in possibly, but if Michigan wins, if Cincinnati wins, that's 2 spots plus Georgia. I think Notre Dame or Oklahoma State is in the mix if Alabama loses. So, I mean, Alabama really needs a win here, or at least a very respectable loss. I don't think they can stay for 40 minutes. For 60 minutes with Georgia, and that's the problem I have with backing Alabama. I think they're going to be in the game, but at some point, you just think Georgia's going to do some stuff defensively that'll turn the tide. It's just a guess. If I had to, I'm not. I've got 5 games I'm betting, and we're going to talk about some of them on this show. I'm not going to bet this. I guess I lean Alabama, but I made my mind up earlier. I'm not going to bet against Georgia, and I'm not going to bet against Georgia here.
It's a great point he brings up here, Rob, where Georgia in the back of their heads, they know they're in the playoff here, regardless, right? I don't know if that comes into play or not, but it's the reality of the situation here. So Saban taking on another former assistant. He lost to Jimbo already this year. That never happens. Could it happen twice in a row?
My guess would be, Joe, that Georgia, knowing that they're in the 14 playoff, makes no difference to them at all. To take Alabama out at the knees probably means more to them than, hey, we're in it. So I'd expect maximum effort out of both sides. When I first looked at this game, and just to start this way, my power ratings made Georgia 7.5. A lot of that early movement, Georgia -4, could very well have been, I don't know this, but could very well have been guys who played their numbers and just thought 4 was too soft and bet it up to where they think it should be, because it certainly has held at 6.5 for the better part of 4 days now, maybe a little longer. That seems to be the right number here. We'll see what happens as we get closer to kickoff. 3 common opponents played by both: Florida, Arkansas, Auburn. Georgia goes 3-0 against those teams against the spread. Alabama goes 0-3 against those teams against the spread. They're life and death with Florida, 31-29. Alabama is. We saw what happened last week against Auburn. And then Arkansas, 42-35. All 3 of those games very, very close. Probably a reason why, public bettors would like Georgia here, because Georgia destroyed all 3 of those teams, not even close. If you look inside the statistics of those games, though, guys, Alabama played better than the final results would indicate in some instances. I mean, they've got over 600 yards against Arkansas. And last week, even counting overtime, Auburn didn't even gain 200 total yards of offense. So the defense played well. I want to get to what Dave was talking about with the pass rush of Alabama. That kind of works both ways here. I think it works better for Georgia, though, because Georgia has protected their quarterback all season long. Now, we could go back and forth, and this is going to be the great debate here. We go back and forth with, Georgia only allowed 8 sacks this year because their schedule was soft, which Adam alluded to. Was their schedule that soft? Is that the reason for this record, or are they just that good? That's the side of the fence. You got to line up on either side of that fence. While they protected their quarterback, Alabama didn't. I mean, Bryce Young's the guy in my mind who won't have time to throw here. Alabama, number 108 in the nation, allowing 35 sacks. And what's worse is they allowed 29 of those 35 to SEC teams. And the other 6 are given up to like Mercer, New Mexico State, Southern Miss. Well, they're garbage non-conference games. But when they got into conference, Bryce Young got hit and Stetson Bennett didn't. Georgia, as good as Alabama is sack-wise, Alabama's 3 in the country. Georgia's 4 in the country. They're both great run defenses. If both teams take away the opponent's run, who's in better shape? Alabama's got the better passing game. They don't protect their quarterback as well. Georgia's got a bunch of freshman receivers running around out there with Stetson Bennett. George Pickens came back last week. That might help. I don't know. I'm kind of on the side of the fence here, guys, where I think that Georgia's just that good defensively. I think the Brian Robinson injury at running back to Alabama is key too. I read this morning that Nick Saban said, we're going to see if we can do some things with him in practice today. If he doesn't go 1,000-yard rusher and Bryce Young is forced to throw the majority of this game, I don't like the look of that for Alabama. So I didn't bet it like the other 2 guys have said, but I'd probably lean the other way. Under a touchdown, I'd probably be on Georgia.
Dave, do you think this by some chance gets to 7 before kickoff?
No.
It
might touch 7, but as soon as it does, it'll get bet back down.
It'll get bet back. So that's what they're holding off on. Yeah.
No, I saw a couple rogue 7s on and it went right back to 6.
It went back there. All right, so I mean, that's the point. 2
places had 7, right back to 6.5.
That's the point where it's at right now. Alabama 6.5 guys taking on Georgia. A lot at stake. That is Saturday. That's going to be 4:00 Eastern time in Atlanta. Interesting to see who's got home field with the fans there too. All right, let's move on here. What do we got, Robert? What do you think? Oh, Utah State taking on San Diego State here in the Mountain West Championship. 3.5 for San Diego State. 50.5 is an opening total. 3:00 now on Saturday. And Dave, you've said it. You've said it time and time again. San Diego State not going to be pretty to watch offensively, but defensively they are no joke here. Utah State's pretty good offensively. Does San Diego State have enough to take them down?
Well, yeah, San Diego State is the better team. There are some negatives on San Diego State. One of them is they lose the yardage on a consistent basis. They've actually been outgained in the majority of their games this year. But I'm not going to say it's by design, but it's just not a big deal. Because San Diego State has a lot of 3-and-outs offensively. They're a very pedestrian offense. But the defense is just rock solid. Utah State's the surprise team in the Mountain West this season. Blake Anderson's done a phenomenal job. I thought they were going to be improved. I think a lot of people thought they would be improved this season. But I don't know anybody, quite frankly, who envisioned them being in the Mountain West Conference title game. So they've overachieved. And I'm not going to be shocked if Utah State wins the game. Because San Diego State doesn't dominate many teams, and Utah State maybe still isn't getting the respect they deserve. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think San Diego State is too strong for them. They're going to take away the explosive plays because that's what they do. And the one fault that you find with Utah State is they give up a lot of explosive plays. So even with a very ordinary offense that doesn't take a lot of chances, I'm not going to be surprised if San Diego State doesn't have a few big plays on offense in this game. The Aztecs have to guard against, I guess, being complacent because they know they're the better team. It's in their backyard. I mean, there's just advantages on the San Diego State side. They can't take this for granted because Utah State's a dangerous team. But I think San Diego State's too good for them, and I think the Aztecs eventually win this by a touchdown.
It's similar to Iowa, Dave, like where you're wondering where the points are going to come from from San Diego State, or Utah State. Not that defense, not really an issue here for them.
No, I mean it's not. I mean, if Iowa's playing a bad defensive team, then Iowa gets some points.
Right.
And San Diego State, Utah State's a bad defensive team. They give up a lot of big plays. So San Diego State might have a lot of, garbage on offense, but I think they're going to hit a few big plays in this game, and I think that'll ultimately be the difference.
All right, guys, 3 o'clock is that game there. Rob Veno, 6-0 for the Aggies on the road here. What do you think they get done here?
Yeah, and that 3 o'clock is Eastern time, right? I think it's noon Pacific. So it's, San Diego State with a couple of these early starts within the last 3 weeks. It was Boise State last time out, right, where they started early and got themselves the win. Again, power ratings came in on the high side of the favorite, San Diego State at home. Of course, you have to figure home field advantage in 7.5. So it may be a small amount of value still left in San Diego State. What I don't like about Utah State, guys, is the fact that this is a great team offensively between the 20s. Up and down the field, up and down the field, up and down the field. But you go back against these teams that play physical defense in the Mountain West the way San Diego State does, and Utah State's yardage doesn't turn into points. I go way back to the Boise State game where they lost 27-3. They gained 443 total yards. They scored 3 points. That's like 1 point every 147 yards. You're not going to score much doing that. But they couldn't score all day long in Boise State territory, missing field goals, throwing interceptions, fumbling, whatever. They come back the very next week. They play BYU, not a Mountain West team, but again, a pretty physical defense. They only gained 336 yards. They lose that game 34-20. So the explosive offense has put up 3 and 20. Then you go to late in the year when they play Wyoming, again at home. All 3 of these games were in Logan. And Wyoming beats this team 44-17. They only gained 362 yards. So that's 20-17-3 against really physical defenses this year, 40 points in 3 games. That doesn't spell explosive. And when you really break it down, I mean, this team's going over 35 points 4 times in 12 games. And 2 of those 4 were in the first 3 weeks of the year. So it's kind of an illusion that Utah State's created here. Sure, we can move the football. Sure, we can get big plays through the year, but not necessarily that great of a scoring team. 35 points against New Mexico State, not great. 24 UNLV, 26 Colorado State. Would lead me right to San Diego State. But the San Diego State issue is the same issue we've had with them for 15, 20 years. You just don't know if you can win by margin with San Diego State. Last 7 games of the year, their wins, they're 6-1 straight up, right? But those 6 wins are by 6, 6, 2, 7, 8, 11. 2, 4, and 1 against the spread. So, you got issues with margin with San Diego State. You got issues with Utah State even being able to score against this defense. In a low-scoring game, favorite could win 24-10. Pretty easy cover. I think that's probably the way that I would lean. But in the 4 games where they were favored of those 7, I just rattled off. They're 0-3-1 against the spread. Not good. Logan Bonner or Jordan Brookshire, who do you want? San Diego State's had quarterback issues all season long. Looks like Brookshire's playing better now. In the end, I think it just comes down to this simple. Utah State doesn't really score against this type of defense. And San Diego State's run defense is just murderous on teams. If you take out all the sack yardage they've had, they only give up 97 yards a game on the ground. And they rush the quarterback. 36 sacks on the year. The only team in the Mountain West that got more sacks than them was Colorado State, 39. And Colorado State sacked Utah State's Logan Bonner 8 times. I'd be wary of Utah State here. Even though San Diego State has issues with margin, I think that's a side I'd prefer to be on.
All right, that's the way to go. Now, what do you think, Trig, here? You agree with the guys, San Diego State, the way to look for you?
No, I actually disagree. I like Utah State quite a bit here. So a couple reasons. First, San Diego State's one loss this year is to Fresno State. On this field, the second most productive offense in the Mountain West this year was Utah State. So, we're talking about margin. They failed to cover 3 times at home this year. That was against Fresno State, Nevada, and New Mexico State. So Rob mentioned Brookshire's probably going to get the nod as the starting quarterback for San Diego State. And even though he was clearly the better option last week when he came in against Boise State, I have him rated lower than Lucas Johnson. So to me, that's a downgrade at quarterback for San Diego State. And Utah State's pretty good on third down. The way Fresno State beat San Diego State earlier this year, was getting ahead early and converting on third down, where they were 9 for 18 in that game, the game that Fresno State beat San Diego State. So, Utah State's good enough offensively where they can score. I think the key here for Utah State will probably be getting a lead, because this San Diego State team is not really built to play from behind. And I think that was the big issue in their loss to Fresno State. I like Logan Bonner, veteran quarterback, so I don't think the moment is going to be too big for him. And yeah, what it really comes down to, San Diego State's kind of been a fade to me all year. This is a home game for them, but I think that's probably forcing you to lay a premium number with San Diego State now. So at 6, I think there's a lot of value on the Utah State side. And I think their offense is good enough where they can, play a similar game to what Fresno State played on this field earlier this year and stay within the number. And I think they have a pretty good chance to win it outright.
All right, guys, there you go. Both sides of the coin there. Decision is yours. And we are going to move on to the next game here, which is an interesting matchup, unexpected. Go ahead, Robert. Yep, makeup game. USC taking on Cal in this one. 2.5. Cal opens up as a favorite. 57.5 is the opening number here, Dave. And Dave, we've talked a lot about USC with the quarterback, and then they get the coaching hire with Riley coming in. Meanwhile, Cal just continuing to plug along. Is there any question who's the better team in your mind here in this game?
Oh, lots of question as to who the better team is, but the situation clearly favors California. USC, I'm not seeing where there's much focus for this game for USC. It's a makeup game. They've lost 5 out of 6, and the one win was against Arizona, and they barely won that game. And I just don't know. I don't know why they'd be excited about playing this makeup game. It's a meaningless football game and a meaningless trip. I just can't get enthused about USC here. California actually hasn't played badly down the stretch. The one bad loss was to Arizona, but they had like 20 guys out in that game. That was when they were going through the COVID issues. And they were coming off a big win against Oregon State, so it wasn't a very good spot for them. Look, I mean, California, I would think, cares more about this meaningless game than USC. They've actually played good defense at home. They've allowed less than 100 yards rushing per game at home this season. To me, I got the game pretty close on power ratings, but I think the situation just overwhelmingly favors California. So, and the line's going up to 4.5, so not much value left at this point, but I think California is the right side in the game. I expect them to win by at least a touchdown against what could be a very disinterested USC squad.
Yeah, you try to put yourself in their position there, Trig. And I mean, USC, it's like, good Lord, they got a million other things they got to think about here. New coach, new everything coming in, disappointing season. So any interest in looking at Cal in this game, or are you passing it all together?
Oh, no, Joe, I love Cal in this game. This is a 4% play for me. It'll be my best bet on the show. I love Cal in this spot. It might be a meaningless game, but not if you're a sports bettor. I think this is one of the best things to bet on the board on Saturday. I mean, listen, anytime, meaningless game or not, it's going to mean something to Cal, because any win over USC is going to mean something to Cal. And, if they didn't have the COVID spike, they probably would have beat Arizona, and they'd probably be playing this game to be bowl eligible. So since they're not, this is their bowl game. And I almost think Cal gets more up for a Saturday night standalone game at home against USC than they would playing some random bowl somewhere. So I fully expect Cal to be ready to play for this game. Of all the guys they had missing from COVID, almost everyone is back. So Cal's going to be, pretty much full strength here. And the last 2 times Cal played on this field, which you'd have to go back about a month to their last home game, they blew out Colorado and they blew out Oregon State. So those were their last 2 home games, which are at least 3 weeks ago at this point. So they've got to be, excited to, come and get one last home game here. My college football news feed all week, anything pertains to USC has all been about Lincoln Riley. I have a feeling though that a bunch of I have a feeling that USC is going to end up with a bunch of guys that sit this game out or like are late scratches. Because anyone, like if you are a USC player and you have any intention of trying to play at the next level next year, like there's no way you're going to play in this game. It just doesn't mean anything. I don't understand why you would put yourself at risk in this game, especially when a lot of these kids for USC are probably not part of the plans next year. And I don't think this is like an audition of sorts or anything. I think Lincoln Riley already knows who's staying and who he's going to kind of push out. So to me, it's just like Dave said, complete meaningless game for USC. Might as well be a scrimmage, probably more of an inconvenience for them to have to go to Berkeley and play this game anyway. But I don't think that's the case at all for Cal. I think Cal is going to be fired up to play one more game. It's still a name school, even when USC is down. For Cal to beat USC is still a big deal. I'd be fine laying the 4.5. I think I think this is gonna be real lopsided. It feels like one of those bowl games where you see a number and it's like guys are gonna be out on the other side and the number keeps going up and it's like it almost can't be big enough. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Cal just wins this by 2-3 scores and USC just doesn't care at all.
All right, well, he loves Cal in this one. Rob, any interest in one side or the other here, or is it a pass for you?
Yeah, I'd be in the same boat with these two guys with Cal, but I'll speak from the total perspective, since they already talked about the side in depth. I agree with a lot of I just don't know if it goes to the extent that USC players don't care about this game. 3 of the top 4 wide receivers running around out there on the field in this game are freshmen or sophomores. They're not going to the pros. Jackson Dart, the quarterback, is not going to the pros. There's a lot of guys on this team. And let's face it, the hire of Lincoln Riley was the perfect hire for USC. They've recruited for 3 years to an air raid system. So we got to go out and find an air raid coach. I'm really surprised they were able to get him, but they got the perfect guy. They don't have to change anything. All these kids that are on the field will be the ones that are going to stay. I had read this morning, there's like 12 to 15 that are headed for the transfer portal. Good luck, good riddance. That happens all the time. But the ones that are sticking around, they're here for this system. And now they've got a head coach a lot better to play for than Clay Helton. So to me, the guys that are going to be on the field care. And last week in that game against BYU, where if everything was lay down, and here's the one caveat to that. It was their final home game. But again, I don't know what final home game means to a young team. It means more to a senior-laden team. But last week, they had 11 drives. And 7 of those 11 drives got into the BYU red zone. Not just into territory, into the red zone. So the offense hasn't quit a bit, in my mind. And Jackson Dart is the better option at quarterback. I think they're probably trying to impress their head coach. I know Lincoln Riley's going to walk in the spring. He's going to open every job up. But these guys have a head start on incoming people. So I don't know that they totally quit, but it's not a great situation for them. Last week, they do get inside the red zone 7 times. They do have to settle for 3 field goals. They did have 1 turnover on downs at the 9-yard line. All that said, they still scored 31 points against BYU, which is a pretty good defense. So I think USC offensively matches up here. Cal, the Arizona game, we have to scratch. Dave mentioned it. Adam mentioned it. You got to scratch that. It can't count because they had so many kids out. But the run defense did get torched by UCLA last week. UCLA, a team that can run, ran for 280 yards. USC still runs for 210 a game. So it's a pretty balanced offense against Cal. I think they can get their points. If they don't care, the question I got to ask myself is, can USC get me to 20? If they can get me to 20, this game's going over because I like what I've seen out of the Cal offense last 6 games of the season here, the back half. They've done some pretty good things against 4 of the 6 teams that they've faced. For their final 6 games, they averaged 498 yards per game, 243 on the ground, 254 through the air, 31 points a pop. Chase Garbers, when healthy, has looked real good. The key for Cal offensively is they have to be able to run. when they ran into UCLA's run defense last week, which I think is one in the Pac-12, they couldn't do anything offensively, but USC gives up 210 a game on the ground. Christopher Smith and company lead a balanced offense. I think Cal can get as high as 40, 42 in this one off USC, because USC's defense, if for what it's worth, just ain't very good. Last 2 weeks, 66 and 35, 91 points. 57.5 looked like too low of a number to me. This is kind of where Adam was leading with this game. It's kind of one of those where they just roll out the balls, right, in basketball, and a lot of points get scored. I think that's what this is. Give me over 57.5.
Wow, you think they're going to make 60? You said 40 for Cal. Wow. All right, there you go. And Trigger's agreeing with you the whole time, man. Absolutely. All right, we got one more game on the board here, guys. We'll quickly run through Army-Navy in a sec, but I do want to remind you guys of that 249 special right now through the end of the month. All access, any one of these gentlemen. All you have to do is go there. 249, you'll get every play, including all the 5%. From all the sports, you name it, guys. This is a great opportunity, and in maybe the single best time of year with all that's going on in the sports world. So head over there, take advantage right now, especially this weekend. The guys are locked and loaded with their 5% plays. College football championship week, as well as the NFL, college hoops, NBA, you name it. Head over to WagerTalk.com and take advantage of it. 249 all access through the end of the year. All right, let's check it out, Robert. What do we got here, Army-Navy? Yeah, classic here, and just feels like it's December when we see Army-Navy, and they open up as an 8-point favorite, Army here, Dave, with a total of 37, and, your eye always looks to the total here, Dave, but I don't know. Army laying more than a touchdown. Are you confident with that?
I like the under. That's it.
Wow.
We're going long on time, so both teams know what the other team's going to do. I don't remember the last time they scored 40 points in an Army-Navy game, so I'll go with the under.
Under 37, the world famous under for Dave Cokin. Talk to us here, Trig. Where are you going here?
Yeah, I don't have much on this one either, so I'll also keep it quick. The total's 36, so I can't lay 8 with Army, even though that's like kind of the way I would look in this game. I will just point out that Christian Anderson, their quarterback, who's back now, didn't play in any of their losses, their 3 losses. Actually, he did play a series against Wake Forest, came in for a trick play, threw a touchdown. Army's 8-3. They'd probably be better than 8-3 had he stayed healthy. So I think Army's a superior team, but it's tough to lay 8 on a total this low. So slightly in Army, but probably won't be something I bet.
All right, Rob, what do you got here quickly? Side total, passing?
Yeah, there's some kind of trend, outrageous trend to what Dave alluded to with the total always going under in this game. I don't have it in front of me, but I know it's just kind of a mechanical thing. Play under and pick up your money. Just in defense of Navy real quick, I think they're 7-2 against the points last 9 games. They have played a little bit better as the season progressed. 8 might be a little bit too much. Haven't really done anything extensive on it yet, but I would have to look at the dog a little bit to start with here just because of the point spread roll that they're on.
All right, looking at the dog there. You got it here, guys. Championship weekend up and ready to rock and roll. And quickly, Dave, of these games, were you leaning towards one or the other?
Well, I like San Diego State and Cal. I'll go with San Diego State for the best bet on the show, but I'm definitely playing California as well.
Situational calls for it, that's for sure there. Trig, talk to me. Cal, I know you said, is that where you're going to go?
Yep. This is a play I have up for sale. So if you're watching, that Pac-12 one that's up for sale is this. So don't worry about buying it. Cal, 4% play for me. Love this spot for them. I think they blow USC out here. And if we already kind of beat it to death. So go back and watch if you want more analysis. But no, I love Cal in the spot. I think they're going to roll on Saturday night.
Cal, and what about you, Rob? Is it the over you're looking at, Cal, USC?
Yeah, I'll stay right in the same game, Joe. I think it's going to go over the number here. Don't argue with this side at all with these two guys. So give me Cal, USC over 57.5.
5% best bets are locked and loaded for these guys this weekend, guys. Go get them right now, $249, and get every player theirs through the end of the year at WagerTalk.com. On behalf of Adam Trigger, Rob Veno, and Dave Cokin, guys, we appreciate it. Listen, best of luck in championship week. I promise you we got bowl games coming up, believe it or not, and we will absolutely get you covered for those. In the meantime, best of luck with your plays. End of year, $249. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Take advantage this weekend, guys. We'll talk to you again soon. Good luck.
Founded in 1957, the Gold Sheet is the country's longest-running sports betting newsletter. Each week, the Gold Sheet team delivers analysis on NFL and college football games, along with NBA and college basketball matchups. The Gold Sheet maintains in-depth point spread and results logs, giving sports bettors and enthusiasts the insights needed to maximize their wagers. For over 60 years, Gold Sheet readers have received key releases based on power rankings on all teams, and for the first time ever, you can now get these selections exclusively at goldsheet.com, wagertalk.com, and sportsmemo.com.